All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Alpha Phi Eats. We are joined tonight by Upper Crust. I am Bridget Conrady, and I'm the manager of events with Alpha Phi International. And we will show a short little video, and then I will hand it right over.
Proudly serving sororities and fraternities across the country, Upper Crust Food Service is known for freshness, quality, variety, and excellent customer service. We begin with a vision to solve a problem that many fraternity and sorority houses face: a lack of consistency and professionalism in the kitchen. With a focus on great food and personal service, we've remained true to our roots. Today, the chefs of Upper Crust Food Service prepare tens of thousands of meals weekly for students across the country. While food service might be what we do, who we are is a dedicated group of culinary professionals, supporting our customers and each other in an environment of professionalism, efficiency, and excellence beyond expectations. Who we are is a company that values efficiency, consistency, professionalism, pride, responsibility, dedication, trustworthiness, and positivity. What we do is food service, but who we are is Upper Crust Food Service.
All right, and I am pleased to introduce Shanna Smith from Upper Crust.
Well, welcome. We are really excited to be here tonight. I'm Shanna Smith. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships with Upper Crust. I too am an Alpha Phi, and we are excited to have Chef Jason, who you saw in his first video, now in his second, as our chef tonight. He is a chef on the campus at the University of Missouri. So welcome.
Hey guys, tonight we're going to be making some Greek grain bowls. First off, in our professional kitchens, I'd be wearing some gloves and a mask just to keep everyone safe. But first we're going to start with cooking the chicken. So I got some chicken right here.
Can you use any type of chicken breast?
Yeah, any type of chicken breast will work. Yeah.
Skin on?
Me personally, I prefer skinless. It's just one less thing you have to worry about. So then we're gonna have a good healthy sprinkle of either granulated garlic or garlic powder. Works either or. And then we have some ground oregano. Some salt. And some black pepper. And then we're going to go straight to the oven with it. That's going to be preheated to 350 degrees for about 25 minutes.
Can you do the chicken ahead of time?
Yeah, you can do the chicken ahead of time. Yeah. Next, we're going to get the rice going. So we'll start with some rice that I have here. And then some water. So it's 2 parts water to 1 part rice. So in this recipe, we have 1 cup of dry rice and then 2 cups of water. Turn that burner on high, and then we're going to leave that alone for a while. So next I'm going to show you how we break down all these vegetables that we're going to put into the grain bowl. So first, I'll start with this cucumber. So we're going to cut, after it's all washed and everything, we're going to cut the ends off. And the recipe only calls for half a cucumber, so we'll just set that one to the side. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to cut it into strips.
Can you leave the skin on?
You can leave the skin on or you can take the skin off. It's whatever your preference is. But if you take the skin off, you don't have to wash it. But, you know, if you leave it on, you're going to want to wash it because get all the bacteria off. And then I'm going to stripe it again into strips so that we can dice it. And then turn it to the side here. And then we're just going to go through and dice it however big or small you would like.
Wow, what even cuts. That is not how my dice looks at home.
It just takes a lot of practice. Really, when it comes to knife skills, the only way you get better at it is if you practice at home. You can take any vegetable really just to practice with. Onions and carrots are the best things to start with, I think, personally.
Would an English cucumber work for this?
Yeah, I think it would even be better, honestly. It's a higher quality cucumber, in my opinion.
In those, you never take the skin off.
No, I wouldn't. It's a lot thinner than your regular cucumber. A lot less seeds, too. So. Next, I'm going to take the bell pepper. So there's a lot of different ways to cut a bell pepper. So the way that I like to do it is I cut it just completely in half like this. And then I can just pull out the insides and toss them out so you're not wasting any pepper.
Yeah. Well, that sure beats the cutting off the end and you have that whole.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot faster and a lot less waste of the pepper, I think.
I notice you have two peppers there, the red and the yellow. Is there any big flavor difference between peppers?
Honestly, I don't think there's a huge flavor difference. Me personally, I prefer red peppers just because I think they're prettier for food. A lot more appealing to the eye when it comes to like putting plates together and such.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on this end, and I'm just going to cut it into strips, which is called a julienne cut in the culinary field.
So as we go along, if anybody's got questions, you can just put them in the chat. And we have our lovely Vanna Camille Griffin monitoring the chat for us.
So what I'll do for this, because I want the peppers to be bite-sized in the bowl, is I'm going to cut it into thirds like this so that you have a nice bite of pepper with each of your bites that you take. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with the red pepper.
Now, if you were trying peppers for the first time, what's kind of the mildest between the red, green, and yellow?
Bell peppers, just in general, are going to be where you want to start.
Okay.
First of all, I think that they give you really good balanced flavor without giving you all that heat that like a jalapeno or a serrano or something like that gives.
Okay.
Chef Jason, we have a question. Why not use chicken stock instead of water for the rice?
So me personally, I would like to use chicken stock. I was just trying to keep it as a more basic recipe for those that are just beginning cooking. So like when I cook in my kitchen, if I can substitute any like vegetable stock, chicken stock, beef stock for any of my recipes, I always think that enhances the flavor of the entire dish.
Awesome.
And I know at the end, after we've gotten this one together, you're going to give us some ideas of how to make this into more of a vegan, vegetarian.
Absolutely. I got three different bowl options.
Okay.
I believe all of these bowls will be gluten-free tonight.
Okay.
And then we will have a vegan and a vegetarian option as well.
Great.
All right, so
Somebody's kitchen. Somebody could be cooking one.
then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the spinach. You can leave the spinach whole if you prefer, but what I like to do is I like to cut it down and kind of cut it into strips, julienne it a little bit, so that, like I said, that's good for each bite. You'll get some spinach in there.
Now I can tell you at the Alpha Fee houses that we service, power bowls, grain bowls, Greek bowls, a goddess bowl, whatever it is, always rank really high for meal requests.
Very, very popular. I know personally in my kitchen that the girls really like the different bowls, no matter what it is, because they can just build it however they want.
Great. So are all grains gluten-free?
Not all grains. So we have barley, rye, and wheat are your three that are not.
Okay. So that's something to watch out for if you're gluten-free and your bowl calls with barley. It really isn't.
So next I'm going to have these cherry tomatoes. So what I do is I take them long ways and then I just cut them down. Cut them long ways just like that. And if you don't have a big knife like this in your kitchen, it doesn't have to be this big. It's just what I prefer. You can use a paring knife or any size knife. Works just as well.
Are there benefits to using a big knife?
So in a commercial kitchen, I like to use a big knife because it helps me cut things faster. Because I've cut for so long, my knife skills, it just helps me like cut onions quicker. It's more efficient for me personally.
You could almost use those, what are they called, the moon drops, or those smaller little, almost bite-sized little tomatoes too, if you didn't want to spend time cutting them.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Can you, on the grain bowls, can you eat them hot, cold? What's?
You can eat them either way. So what I like to do is they're really good fresh. So like once I make one the day up, I'll eat it then, and then they're even good for like meal prepping. So like if you don't want to do a lot of cooking during the week, you could prep it out like on a Sunday, and you just box them up individually in your fridge, and then they'll be great for the week.
Would you put the dressing on or put the dress?
I would leave the dressing off just because you don't want it to get really soggy. I don't think that would be good for the product as a whole.
Okay.
Which wine would you suggest here with dinner?
Which wine?
Shannon, that's Greg wants to know.
So, So personally, I'm not a big wine drinker, but if I do drink wine, I drink like a sweet wine. I'm not a big dry wine person. I don't know. I mean,
I think the real question is, what would Shanna pair with it?
Well, it's really Lindsay who asked the question. So, but I think you would probably end up doing more of a red.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I think wine is very individual. So if you only drink whites, that would be what you do. I think you'd stay away from the sweet wines.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So what are so I know you're cooking the rice, so should it, kind of a tip on that is how long you cook it, what's the texture supposed to be on any of the grains?
So with all grains, especially all the grains we're cooking tonight, like I just turn the rice off. So because once all that water cooks out, it's cooked into your grain, You want it to be soft. You don't want it to be crunchy. So that's really important. And that's how you know that it's cooked all the way through.
Okay. I think one of the grains you're showing us tonight is farro.
Yes, farro.
And I think our procurement manager, when we were talking about it, he said you don't want it to stick in your teeth. And I thought, well, that's an easy way to tell if the product's cooked.
That's a good way to tell. So now I'm doing the exact same thing with the Kamalata olives. Just cutting them down long ways in half. And that's just a preference. If you want to, you can just eat them whole in the bowl. But it's just really up to whatever your preference is.
So I'm curious in the chat button, how many people are cooking along with us or just watching and are going to try this later? So if you can put in the chat, that'd be great. I'm always curious on these. I've sat in on them. I never cooked along because I wanted to really watch, but I'd be really curious on that. Could you use spinach?
Yes.
But you probably don't want to get into like an iceberg lettuce. You want to stay.
No, because when you use like an iceberg lettuce or a leaf lettuce of some sort like that, it's going to kind of ruin the integrity of the bowl, especially if you're not eating it right away.
Okay.
That's why I chose spinach. But like the cabbages that we're going to use tonight for our other bowls, those are good because they're kind of a hardier green.
Okay.
Can you tell us anything more about farro? They would like to know more.
Wow. We'll have to Google that. No.
I don't know a lot about farro. What what we tried earlier, it tastes pretty good. It's just kind of similar to some of those alternatives to rice, like quinoa and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to describe.
Yeah, it almost looks like a oatmeal, but it's also usually found in more of the health food side of your grocery store versus with the rice and quinoa. So like I usually find it there.
Not to interrupt, if you use farro, I would suggest cooking it longer than it says on the box. It is very hearty grain.
Yes.
And it fills you up, but it can be rough on your stomach if you don't cook it long enough.
Well, and I think that's why too, on the product, they say you really need to get the quick cooking so that it is cooking a little faster and doing exactly what you said so it doesn't get undercooked.
Where can they find this recipe after tonight?
So I think Bridget sent the recipe out, but we can make sure, if she gives, some email addresses, we can send it out too. But I do think it was sent out ahead of time, correct, Bridget? Maybe Bridget left us.
Nope, I'm still here. It was sent out yesterday, so if you registered today, I will resend it to you now.
Yeah. Now you can just talk about it.
So now I'm julienning this onion, which we're just cutting it into strips. And it's not too difficult. You're just trying to be really careful that you're not going to cut your fingers. So that's why I'm taking it nice and slow.
Have you cut your fingers many times?
Oh, a few times, yeah.
Okay. That's kind of.
Especially if you have a really sharp knife.
Which if you're in your business, you do.
Yes, very important to have a sharp
knife. So. Okay.
So now I'm gonna cut down this carrot. So I'm gonna cut off the end. And then I'm also gonna cut that into strips. Cut off both ends.
So pretty much you're dicing or stripping.
Yes.
Well, everything's into some kind, but you're not going to get it so small that you don't know what it is in the bowl.
Absolutely.
Okay. You want to keep some.
Yes. This is a really small carrot. So.
Sorry, I was the grocery shopper.
So, but normally, the carrots are pretty good size.
So I know they talk about ancient grains. And I know the farro is an ancient grain. So those are, I think, a little harder to come by. You've got a really kind of more health food store.
Yeah.
Your grocery store may have it, but.
Yes. So an ancient grain is basically a marketing term used to define a certain category of grains that have developed over time and been categorized into that specific category.
It was a grain that was around before any of us were alive.
Pretty much.
Okay, that works. So does every grain bowl, power bowl have kind of the same sets of ingredients, like a vegetable, a protein, and then it's just your combination that you're doing?
Yeah. Really, well, this is just an example of what you can do with a grain bowl. It can be, you can really use just about any ingredient. Besides that lettuce we talked about earlier, you know, it's kind of a no-no, but like for the most part, it's pretty open. When I serve it in my kitchen, I'll call it something, and then I have all my ingredients that they can build their own bowl with, and then I'll have like 6, 7 salad dressings that they can choose from.
Oh, okay.
So that they can do whatever they want.
Okay.
What would be a good substitute for a cucumber if they were allergic?
So you could use a zucchini.
Huh.
So now I'm going to cut down both of the cabbage. So this one doesn't have the core in it. So what I do is I cut it down in half like this, and you're just trying to get it as thin as you possibly can, like you would see in a coleslaw, like nice and thin strips. So I just cut it down in strips like this, all the way across.
Ooh, the knife speed picks up on the cabbage. Till I said something that slowed down at the end. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I cut a lot of cabbage in my work kitchen.
So what are, you know, besides we know bowls are real, people really like bowls. What are some of the other requests that you get from the women?
I would say like chicken strips, pizza, mac and cheese, you know, the favorite food groups. I did an interesting one last semester that they really loved, and it was just basically a play on words that I called it Chick-fil-A Day, and they loved that.
Yeah.
They ate more chicken strips than they would normally. I made like a copycat recipe of Chick-fil-A sauce.
Okay.
Got some waffle fries, but they really enjoyed that for sure.
Okay. Wow, we're getting everything cut up here. Shortly, it'll be time for the put together.
Yep, we'll make the dressing next,
Okay.
actually.
Is it true if they say the more colorful your plate in a bowl is, the healthier?
Yes, it is true, actually. The more color that you can put onto your plate, the healthier it really is for you.
It's hard to bring that.
I know it.
That's what I go for every time. Because I'm sure everyone knows this, but you eat with your eyes first before you eat with your mouth. So if it doesn't look good, you're not going to eat it.
Well, I just know when when we ever can socialize together again with my friends, we'll have to try this and actually add some of this color into our meal, because I can probably tell you there isn't this much color in what we eat. Huh? At home or out with, you know, you kind of get set going to kind of that same restaurant and you order kind of the same thing. So.
All right, so I'm going to make the dressing now. It's just a Greek vinaigrette. So basically, if you don't have a food processor, you can use a blender, or honestly, you can even use a whisk. If you, a whisk in a bowl. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to make an emulsification, which is a combination of vinegar and oil, and then anything else that you put in there, that's what a vinaigrette is. So we're going to do that real quick. All right, so I got some red wine vinegar here. And then a little bit of mustard.
Now that's yellow mustard.
Yep.
Could you use a Dijon or will it?
Traditionally, I would use a Dijon. But I wanted to make sure that for the vegan bowl, they could still use the Greek vinaigrette because Dijon mustard is not vegan friendly.
Oh.
When you say a little bit, that looks like one drop.
Yeah, it's like half a teaspoon or something.
It really was a little.
It's not a whole lot.
I didn't know the Dijon mustard was.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until I started doing research on this recipe and putting this whole thing together, ingredients wise. I thought that was really surprising.
So you put salt and pepper and.
Yep. I got some ground oregano, some salt, some pepper, and a little bit of sugar because Greek food traditionally is very acidic. And so especially for the girls, I like to sweeten it up a little bit so that they enjoy it a little bit more.
Okay, we're gonna have a little bit of noise here.
Yep, a little bit of noise.
Okay.
So we're just gonna mix that all together, and then you're gonna take this top off, or you just take a small piece out of the blender if you have that, and then you're just gonna drizzle in the olive oil until it comes together and it'll start to thicken a little bit.
That didn't take long.
No, it doesn't take long at all to make vinaigrette.
How
And then
big is your food processor at the sorority?
at the sorority house, I don't think I actually have a food processor. I use a blender.
Oh,
Yeah, I just use a blender. It works just as good, if not better. Honestly, my favorite thing to use when I make homemade dressing is like a Vitamix
okay.
because it works really, really well and it's really powerful. So that's kind of what the dressing looks like.
Okay.
Put it right here. It's a little, so this recipe is going to make your vinaigrette a little thin. If you want it to be a little thicker, just add a little bit more olive oil. It's just, also a preference thing, whatever you would like.
Now, if you were making this ahead, is it gonna separate then? You're gonna have to just make sure you're.
Yes, it might separate a little bit. You can put it in the fridge or you can leave it out. Either or will work.
Okay.
So now, I believe we're ready to put this bowl together.
No, it's good.
So with the rice. You're just gonna want to make a nice layer there at the bottom of the bowl there. And then we're gonna go check on our chicken now.
So you really need to put this in some kind of bowl or something with some sides, not flat on a plate.
Yes, to get your developed flavor of all of it together, it needs to be in a bowl.
Okay. You'll use the cucumber.
All right, so what I like to do when I cut a chicken breast is I like to cut it in half like this. Cut it in half like this.
Ooh.
So that you have nice little bites of chicken whenever you're biting into the grain bowl. So then I'm just gonna strip it long ways.
So you're cooking it to an internal temperature or
165.
yeah,
It's
so no
really
pink.
important for it to be 165. No pink.
No pink. Pink is not good in chicken.
No. That is the one meat you do not want to undercook.
Yeah.
And then I'm going back through and I'm just dicing the chicken. Nice little pieces of chicken.
You might want to turn it down.
Just do it like right here.
Is that
All right.
fine? Yep. So you're looking at kind of one chicken breast per person.
Yeah.
Dang.
So it's a pretty good amount of chicken. All of this together is going to be a pretty fulfilling meal. Also very healthy, so it's good. And then next, we're going to take the tomatoes, put those in there.
Now,
How many different bowls are we gonna make tonight?
3. I'm going to make 3.
so we gave the recipe of the Greek bowl, but what we wanted to be able to do is show you some variations if you were trying to do it vegan or vegetarian, because the cheese and the chicken, you know, will change what we're doing.
Yep, absolutely. And so basically when you build this, you're just going to want to look at your different colors of ingredients that you put in your bowl so that it can have a nice aesthetic look to it.
My guess is this is not how the women in your sorority house are building their bowl.
No, they're definitely not.
They just throw it in on top.
Yep, they're just putting it on top.
But right now I'm serving it to them. So
Oh, so, okay,
There
so
we
it
go.
does have a little more of a aesthetic look.
yeah, a little bit. Then we have some cheese here.
What kind of cheese?
It is a feta cheese.
That's a little saltier, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of like a blue cheese, just not quite as
Greek.
potent. It's a Greek ingredient.
Chef Jason, do you have any tips on cooking or preparing tofu for salads or bowls like this?
So if you cook it, my recommendation is if you have anything that you like to marinate with, marinate it, cook it in liquid, because that's going to help it have more flavor and not just taste like tofu. I don't know how else to describe that.
Could you grill? I don't know. I don't eat tofu.
Yeah, you could.
You could grill it.
Yep. You could grill it just in a saute pan at home.
Okay.
So then our last step is we're going to,
Are you using garbanzo beans at all?
I will in the other ones.
Okay.
This one has the meat on it.
Okay.
If you wanted to, you could also put that on there. And then you're just going to kind of put it over the top here as much as you prefer.
Wow. We're all going to be fighting over dinner tonight.
There's one bowl. And then I wanted to show the other grains that we have. This is what they look like before they're cooked. So we have, this is what the farro looks like before cooking. And then this is what quinoa looks like also. And then I have the white rice that we use that you can also see what it looks like. And then I have all of them cooked over here. So this is what they look like cooked.
That does look like a little bit like
kind of
a
like oatmeal. Yep.
Mhm. Yeah, wow.
And then there's the quinoa cooked as well. Now we're gonna do the quinoa bowl first.
Ooh. And it's, that's okay. And I think this one's a tricolored quinoa.
It is a tricolor quinoa. It's a little prettier than, you can get red quinoa also. I've used that in my houses before.
Farro.
Yep.
Almost looks like a barley in a way.
Almost, yeah, it almost does.
You're not too big beans without sauce.
Oh my gosh.
And the other thing, when you're cooking quinoa and farro and all those, is just a little salt in the water if you don't want to put stock in it, vegetable stock or anything. It's just going to bring in a little bit more flavor and to your bowl. All right, so for our farro bowl, I'm going to use the purple cabbage. And then for the other one, I'm going to use the green cabbage. The quinoa bowl. And like I said, any ingredient works for these bowls. I've just picked a few ingredients that you can use that are gonna be vegetarian, vegan friendly. So I got some cucumber here that I'll put there. I'm gonna bring the carrots over and put them on this one. Some of the sliced red bell pepper over here, and then the yellow bell pepper over here. Some sliced almonds on the farro bowl.
Gives a nice crunch.
Yep, good for texture. And then I've got some sun-dried tomatoes that we're gonna put over here. And then we'll go through and
You want the other? Oh, that, never mind.
give it some dressing.
Garbanzo beans can go on.
Oh yeah, we can put garbanzo beans on. Those are good for the vegan bowl because they're vegan friendly.
Good source of protein.
Very good source of protein if you're vegan. And then we're just gonna give it some dressing on both of them.
When making a bowl, what's your like have to have ingredient? Like your favorite ones you really think is really make the bowl?
I really like raw onions and raw peppers in my bowls. Honestly, if I had to pick a favorite bowl, I like Buddha bowls because I really love green goddess dressing.
And what's in that?
Green goddess dressing has some fresh parsley, some fresh green onion. It has some mayonnaise. I put a little sugar in it, and then for acid you have like lemon juice or even red white vinegar would work as well. But that's pretty much what it is.
Okay.
A little bit of oil to thicken it up a little.
I see that a lot on our menus.
Here's your 3 bowls that I just went through and showed you each one, and that is the finished product.
So this is the recipe.
This is the recipe here, all the way over here, and then this is the farro bowl that has the vegan friendly, and then this one over here is vegetarian friendly, and this has the tricolor quinoa in it.
Okay. So, are there any questions? Okay. Well, ooh, I'm now back in. So does anybody have any additional questions? We tried to keep this so it was a quick, fairly easy meal for you to put together. Didn't take a lot of time. And is something that, you know, can do ahead, easy to take to work or work, you know, working from home, walking downstairs, making it, eating, going back up. So we appreciate everybody's time, and we are doing the March Alpha Phi Eats. We are doing it the week before St. Patrick's Day, so we are going to do really a theme around St. Patrick's Day, maybe what to do with if you have leftover corned beef. We are not going to be cooking corned beef and cabbage. We're not doing it traditional. So is there any other, before we let everybody go? We appreciate everybody that showed up. And for my, I did a little arm twisting for some friends too, so I appreciate you guys all being on there. Yes, hi. So I will not do the shake that Lindsay Wiggins is wanting on this because there's some people on this Alpha Phi Eats I don't know yet, so maybe down the road. So Bridget, back to you.
Awesome. Well, yes, that looks delicious. I am jealous that I'm not there with you guys to eat it. But just wanted to say thank you again, you know, to Upper Crust for sponsoring this tonight. And we are excited to see you again in March. And to all of you that attended tonight, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.